Registration process kicks off at this hour for the 2023 DA Federal Conference at the Gallagher Convention Centre in Midrand. The party's two-day gathering will determine who will lead the party to next year's national elections and set the opposition party's stance on key issues, including coalitions. Now, our reporter Erin Bates is tracking developments and joins us now live. Now, Erin, there are a number of issues for the party to resolve. We know this, and amendments, of course, to its constitution are certainly on the agenda today. But what are analysts saying?
Yes, well, of course, in the build-up to this federal conference of the official opposition, as it calls itself, the DA, Newzroom Afrika's political team has been speaking to political analysts. They include the likes of Dr. Breakfast, who has spoken about the issue of coalitions, looking forward to the 2024 general election. It's a very future-oriented conference, you could say, Ntokozo. We've seen the slogan for this year and a sort of drive from the DA to build itself for a better future. That could well characterize or frame proceedings here over the next 2 days. And if you look through the program, you see some 82 proposed constitutional amendments to the party's very own constitution. Now, John Steenhuisen, who of course is the incumbent leader of the party, arrived a little earlier. He was carrying some banners. I also saw Natasha Mazone, who was busy putting together a table, very hands-on approach from some of those well-known leaders of the party. And what Dr. Breakfast said, I'm not sure if we in fact have that clip ready to share with our viewers, but he talks about the issue of coalitions and the party really establishing its collective thought on coalitions, even possibly with the with the ANC, leading into 2024 national elections. Of course, we know the governing party is facing a steep challenge in terms of securing an outright majority. And in fact, the Mail and Guardian's edition published on Friday shows that coalitions is one of the issues on the mind, certainly, of Steenhuisen. One wonders what Dr. Palatse's view is on that. So you'll have to tell me, Ntokozo, if that clip is in fact ready. If not, we can move on to other themes looking ahead to the day. I believe we do have it, so let's take a listen.
The possibility that the ANC might lose power in the upcoming general elections is not far-fetched. So I think the DA, among other things, will discuss a model of coalition formation that might work for it, given the fact that coalition formations have been falling apart. So Steenhuisen came into the picture under very difficult circumstances when the party lost some votes to Freedom Front. Even of late, the party at local government elections did not perform the way it should have.
You hear Dr. Breakfast there talking about when Steenhuisen took the helm of the DA and some of the challenges around his ascension to top brass of the party. Of course, he's contending against Dr. Palatse here, 2,000 voting delegates at this conference this weekend. And in an interview earlier this week on Newzroom Afrika, she touted her own track record within the official opposition. Let's take a listen to that.
It's not the length of time in a party that determines your level of effectiveness. I joined the DA in 2015. In 2016, I was sworn in as a councillor. A few weeks later, I was sworn in as an MMC. For 3 years under the Herman Mashaba administration, with real outputs and a real large-scale impact in society in that short space of time. I remained a PR councillor for 2 years, put my hand up to be mayor, and I was elected mayor. And I was mayor for 13 months. So in the short stint I've had in the party, not so short, it's about 8 years, short according to other people's measure, I've managed to be very effective, and I've done a lot, and I've got a lot to show for it. There's people who've been in the party much longer than me who cannot show half of what I've done. I don't believe that it's the length of time. It's what you do with that time.
All right, well, Erin, we can see a couple of DA delegates in the background there getting busy, preparing for today's activities. What can we expect in terms of the program? How are we expecting that to follow through for today?
Yes, well, registration kicked off at about 6 o'clock this morning. There will be an address from the federal chair, that is Dr. Ivan Meyer. I believe it's at 9 o'clock. And then from there we get into a political address. Later in the day there will be discussions and voting on some of those constitutional amendments, those 82 proposed constitutional amendments to the DA's very own constitution. And also, just to give you a sense of how things are going, of course, here is the registration desk, or slew of desks, you could say. Members are obviously coming to queue and get onto the system. Quite quick and organized here. One lady's got her ID ready and waiting. Ma'am, how are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. Erin from Newzroom Afrika. What part of the country are you from, and how are you feeling about the conference?
I'm feeling very good. I'm from Ward 31 at Tambourville.
And how long have you been a member of the DA?
It's been 2 years now.
Okay, and how's it been?
New.
How has it been the last
It's
year?
been a good since I started to join.
And what are you most looking forward to at this conference?
Okay, sorry. Question again?
What are you most looking forward to? What is top of your list for things to look forward to at the conference? Is it the leadership votes? Is it the discussions on the constitutional amendments?
The federation vote. Only this one.
There we go. Thank you very much for your time. There are obviously many from the DA here, 2,000 delegates from across the country. Sir, how are you?
I'm good, ma'am, and you?
Very well, thank you. I see you've got your badge shining bright there with incumbent leader John Steenhuisen. How are you feeling about the leadership challenge that's coming this conference?
I believe that if something is good and it's not broken, you can't change it. You have to keep it that way.
So I take it between the badge on your jacket and what I'm hearing in your words, you're backing the incumbent leader for the party.
Absolutely, ma'am.
What is your view of Dr. Mpopalate's performance as a leader of the DA, particularly in Gauteng?
She's a good leader, but I think for now I would rather stick with John because actually he's still doing a good job. That is what I can say.
And in terms of some of the constitutional amendments, there are 82 proposed for the party to be discussed over the weekend. What are some of your priority concerns for the DA in terms of policy?
I didn't check much because I didn't have much time to really dwell with them, but actually because I was quite cramped somewhere. But when I read them, I find that actually they were too good, and then we still need to stick with them. Yeah.
And where do you think the party maybe could improve? Where do you think your own party could be doing more? Where there are gaps it could close?
No, we're doing well. We don't need to improve because actually we got the numbers.
Sounds like you're from the media office of the DA. So just lastly, what ward are you from and where is it?
I'm coming from Durban, Ward 58.
Ward 58 in Durban. Tukozo, there you have it. Thank you, sir, for your time. We're going to just keep moving. It is a hive of activity, as I say. Registration all the way along here around me. We've got some known faces, some not so known faces, delegates of the DA. Sir, how are you?
Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, great.
You're all looking bright-eyed and wide awake, which is remarkable for this early on a Saturday morning. How is the prep?
We're from the Western Cape. I mean, we're awake every morning this early.
Yes, well, you also have power more often than we do in Gauteng, so maybe your lives are just a little bit more orderly than ours feel like sometimes. Tell me, in terms of the leadership race, do you have any anxieties? Are you looking forward to the engagements on that? Where do you stand?
Absolutely. I mean, as a party, that's exactly what we believe in and stand for, is allowing people to put their names forward, campaign, canvass, amongst each other, and then we go and choose. Well, tomorrow morning, actually, we'll go and choose, also bright and early. But, that's part of who we are. That's about us. That's the blue machine.
And looking to the national elections, obviously the face and sort of character of the party in terms of who's driving it, who's leading the charge into the polls next year is really, really important, particularly for a party that's entrenched with a certain voting population and is hungry to garner more voters. How much is that going to play into the discussions around leader?
I don't know if it'll be about the discussion, because obviously the leader is the choice that we'll make today that's going into those elections. But it's not actually only about the leader, it's about the team. And today and tomorrow is actually going to be about the start or kickstart of that election campaign. and that blue machine that's going to sort of come alive now and work across the whole country. So it's like almost this is the Congress to choose our leadership, but this is also the Congress where we get our marching orders and we off we go towards the election.
Just lastly, I mean, there's often a lot of talk about kind of race, discourse around transformation and the demographics of the DA's voting base historically. What are some of the other priority issues? I see you looking around. I take that as a subtle subtext to look around the room and take cognizance and heed of the variety and the fabric of South Africa we see here. I got the hint, Alan Winde, thank you. But in terms of other issues that perhaps are on the DA's agenda to drive for national elections, youth unemployment obviously comes to mind, the number of millions of South Africans on social grants, the need for economic growth that is truly transformative and speaks to the values of the Constitution. What are those policy issues you will actually be highlighting that go beyond cheap talk about race?
So, I mean, when you have a look at the range of motions that are put in, I mean, it's about youth unemployment, it's about the economy, it's about energy, it's about all of those things that are holding us back as a nation, but it goes right down to issues of, animal welfare, and I mean, so there's a range of motions which talk to all of the issues that South Africans face in every single walk of life. So, yeah, I mean, and those are the motions, and of course they're all underpinned by the policies. There might be some amendments to some of them, but, it's about the policies and how we enact them. And then, of course, for us, as we started this conversation, coming from the Western Cape, able to showcase some of the things that we do in some of the panels. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. I know that I'm on tomorrow talking about things that we do where we govern. What does that mean for Gauteng, for example, or how does one municipality engage with another municipality where we are in government or where we're in opposition. And so that's what politics is about. Politics is about what are your policies and how do you propose to run a country, and that's exactly what we're putting forward.
Just lastly on that, obviously the Western Cape where the DA does govern is effectively your show pony. It's your blueprint for DA governance. Do you think you're doing enough when it comes to spatial planning and sort of the legacy of sort of demographic divisions within the Western Cape, perhaps particularly in the city of Cape Town, and transforming that?
Yeah, so obviously these are the big questions that face us every single day. I mean, if I look at some of the planning issues that we're putting on the table, if I look at, we've got models that we're trialing out. We've got one called the Conradi Better Living Model, where we've been working for quite a few years now, where there are thousands of apartments being built, in an area that traditionally was not a development space. We've got a few of those areas identified now in the middle of the city, but also in pockets around the city of Cape Town or in other municipalities in the Western Cape that's really trying to break those. We've got policies in place that are now new and different. So it is about the showcasing. Can we bring that change? At the same time, understanding that we're under huge pressure. I mean, our population growth scheduled to hit 8 million by 2030. But in actual fact, I'm looking now, 129,000 more people last year coming to the province. So I'm having a look at the pressure on our schools, on our hospitals, on our spatial planning. So I've now got a new team now involved in future planning. We're trying to learn from other parts of the world. Some parts of the world even put a 100-year plan on the table with scenarios. We're looking at that now because you've got to look at far further into the future and then bring about these changes while this pressure is on. We are under pressure, but it's at the same time, that's what government's about. And that's about saying, understanding your issues today and how do you deal with those issues.
Future forward, which is very much in line with the theme of this conference. Thank you for your time, Alan Winde there of the DA, obviously in the Western Cape. As we hear, talk about load shedding in Tokozo. It has hit with a bang. Sounds like the generators are kicking in. There we go. And the lights are back on. We will keep you posted throughout the day as this DA federal conference continues, or kicks off rather, and then continues over the next 2 days this weekend.
Indeed, Erin, lots of reference and, dare I say, deference to the blue machinery. Of course, we'll continue to bring that live coverage of the inner workings of the DA's Federal Congress to our viewers this morning. Thank you so much, Erin. We'll leave it there for now.